Man, I absolutely, as a fan, love the Tourcast system. I love how it operates. And what I love even more is that the PGA Tour is always looking for new ways to continue innovating these things, right? So for Tourcast, I know we're launching some cool things this year, right? What was the logical next step for y'all in making it even better?
Yeah, at the PGA Tour, we're always looking to innovate, and through our partners at AWS, you guys also push us, and that's something that we're very grateful for. When we're thinking about our Tourcast product, it does a really good job displaying all the shots that happen on the course. However, what we wanted to do is take that to the next level and put more context around what's actually happening. And so what we did is we created AI text commentary, which allows you to not only understand what happened, but also understand what happened with the context around it. So that could be different stats about the current shot, or it could be stats about the next shot. And we believe that brings the next level to the experience, which not only says what happened, but what impact it has on the players round or the tournament as a whole.
Gotcha. So instead of me just being able to see like, oh, this shot went there, now I'm able to get commentary to go along with it, like a real broadcast, and also the context around what that shot might mean to that player or for the tournament overall. I think that's so cool. I think this will be a good spot. Can you show us what that looks like on the app? So we've seen what Tourcast used to look like. What's it look like with this new system?
This year, we wanted to take Tourcast to the next level and provide a cool experience for both our fans and our players. So we launched AI shot commentary in Tourcast. This is part of PGA Tour's Fan Forward initiative, which was announced last June. And we wanted to focus on bringing a greater integration of stats and data. And so what we did is we created this AI commentary for each shot that's hit on the course across a whole weekend, which is over 30,000 shots in a normal tournament. And the commentary is broken down into two key parts. The first part is the fact, which really talks about what happened on the shot. And the second part is the context, which gives you an understanding of why the shot mattered for an individual player or its impact on the round and tournament as a whole. This is really cool because it allows us to give fans context about what's happening on the current shot for that player, or also thinking about what the next shot's going to be or what impact the next shot could have. If you click this history button right here, you're able to see the shot commentaries for each of the players' shots on the whole, and allows you to catch up very quickly on your favorite players.
Wow. Okay. Love this new addition, right? There's so much to unpack here. Let's take a step back and kind of start from the beginning. Yep. When y'all decided, okay, we want to introduce this live commentary aspect, that's the next step we want to take in the evolution of this system, right? What were some of the things you wanted to make sure were included within that, and how did it come about? How did you make it work?
Yeah, I think when we were thinking about this product as a whole, we really wanted to focus on two things. Number one was the accuracy. We wanted to make sure that any stats or information we put out to our fans or our players was accurate. And that's the same way we want to do that across all of our digital platforms. Accuracy is extremely important for trust that we have with our fans and our players. In the LM space, that's a little different, and so we had to come up with some unique services and use AWS services as well to ensure that we were able to do that. The second part is we wanted to make sure that we were doing unique context to the shot, and that if we did context, we were able to provide a lot of value and have enough variety that it would be interesting and valuable to a fan or to a player who's consuming it.
Gotcha. So let's talk about the process of how this happens. So we're out on the course, a player hits a shot. How does it get to me as a fan on the app with all this live commentary? Walk me through that process.
Yeah, absolutely. So the process starts with data being collected off the course. That's the first step and kind of the foundational part of everything we do at the tour, but also what you guys we do with AWS. We then take that and we have built a context service. And what that does is it looks at all the different stats that we have available around that shot or around that player or tournament, and we figure out what's important to that shot specifically. Okay. We then use Amazon Bedrock and a few different calls in order to generate the commentary. And then we created a data validation service, which goes and looks at what we've output from the LLMs and confirms that the stats and the information within it are correct.
Gotcha. And this happens, it comes out to me from the course to my phone on Tourcast in how long? How long does that take?
From the time the shot's hit to the time the commentary is produced is about 10 seconds.
Wow. And it's not just for one hole or one section of the tournament, right, on the course. It's for the entire thing, right?
Yeah,
how many shots is that?
Yeah, so there's about 30,000 shots per week on a typical tour event. And so that is happening for every one of those shots.
Wow, the scale of that system is incredible to me. Also, I want to dive into this fact versus context thing. So this entire system is generated with generative AI. right? So how is it able to extrapolate this is a fact versus this is context for the fans or the players?
Yeah, we've set the system up to be able to kind of handle both of those things. The fact is really focused on telling the fan what happened, and then the context is really more about, why does that shot matter? What impact does it have on the player's round or the tournament? And so we've been able to kind of custom build the system in a way that provides the most value to our fans. And because of AWS Bedrock and the flexibility that we have with it, we're able to customize that however we would like.
Okay. And again, since this is entirely generative AI through Amazon Bedrock, is there somebody still back here, like a real person QAing it, or do you just trust the system to do everything by itself now?
Yeah, so we've spent a lot of time building a QA system that allows us to validate the data information in the commentary. Over the last 6 months or so, we've actually been also manually QAing it to make sure not only our commentaries are correct, but also that our validation services work well. So now as the system is put into production, as it is this week, and as it runs forward, those validation services will do all the accuracy checks that we need.
I am so excited to see this live in action. This is going to be the first weekend that it's debuting, correct?
Yep.
Can't wait to see it then. So I'm really excited about that. Let's go outside. I think we want to talk about some other things out there.
Sounds great.
30,000 shots in a given weekend being tracked through this thing. And fun fact, that's how many shots it takes Nick to get out of a bunker.
I mean,
plus or minus a few.
True. I got down to 20,000 the other weekend. I was real excited. Okay.
So we have questions coming in about the technology that drives this thing or how courses are working. And I promise MB Surfer, we're going to get to that really quickly. But before we get to that tech, again, I kind of want to know, how did we get from where we were to where we are with TourCast and the new Bedrock features and the generative AI features? Again, what was that origin story that led to this sort of development and feature?
Yeah, so where this came from was we mentioned all this vast amount of data that the tour has. The problem that they were having was how do they take all this data and get it to the fans in a way they can easily consume it when they want it, whether it's on their mobile device or wherever it is. And that's when generative AI really came into the scene. And so back in Q2 of 2023, we partnered with PGA Tour. We leveraged our Generative AI Innovation Center, which is these group of machine learning experts that sat down with the tour. We had plenty of ideation sessions, and we started using Bedrock. They started prototyping, using it, and then now they've built up these internal competencies where they go from idea into production, like these new features in TourCast, like the new AI automated commentary, very quickly. So that we're adding, you just wait. I know we're going to talk about this in a little bit, but there's a lot more coming soon.
Oh, man. Well, that is an enticing thing for the audience to stay a little bit longer. And also, my producers keep yelling at me backstage here. Just a quick shout out, guys. If you are enjoying the content, we do air every Friday, generally at 12 p.m. Pacific time. See other use cases like this one. We dive into a lot of different tech from all over, sports use cases, normal tech use cases, just everyday mom and pop use cases. Come learn about the cloud with us every Friday at 12 p.m. Pacific time. Now let's get to that question from MB Surfer. First and foremost, he or she would like to know, are courses scanned or solely from GPS with the TourCast system, or is it like a manual creation?
So yes, actually before a tournament, PGA Tour goes out, they have drones, they have all this mapping technology. They go out and map everything. And then they use this technology to capture the data off the course.
Gotcha. I should have known. The answer is always drones. All right. So let's get back to the live commentary bit. What's the tech that powers that? And especially, I'm really curious, how does it distinguish between the fact and context? Is that such like a minute thing? How did we get that to come about?
So the beauty of Bedrock is it gives you model choice, right? There's not just one model in there. So what we did was we worked with different models based upon the use case to be able to not only get the facts, but then be able to, like you said, Nick, get context out of that. And so as part of this learning, out of the box, these large language models, they don't know golf, right? So that's when we worked in partnership with PGA Tour and built this context kind of rules engine, if you will. And then as we keep doing more and more prompting, it just got more and more sophisticated. When we launched in production a couple of weeks ago, fully automated without human intervention, it got these stats and the context 95% of the time right. And so we're trying to get even better. If it didn't get it right, then it kicked it back and it just didn't publish it. And I'll tell you, one of the things we learned when it went into production that I think was a big of a surprise to PGA Tour as it was to us, we had been prototyping and didn't know the cost. Here's probably one of the best things. It costs 1 cent per shot to produce this. So over 4 days of tournaments, it's just a few $100s.
Wow. So Bedrock it's a penny for its thoughts.
Yes, exactly.
I like that. That was
That joke of the show. That's incredible, though.
Yeah, that's very cool. And like such a cool thing to see the idea come to life and work backwards from what they really, and then be a novel first application within the sports world. And earlier in the show, we had people saying, hey, this should be used for football. This should be used for baseball.
Yes.
Like this should be used across all of these different sports. And I can see that a future where that's possible. But I think we have one more clip, and I want to make sure I remind folks to get their phones out to scan a QR code that Nick mentioned earlier. But I think we should roll that clip and then start to wrap this thing up. What do you think?
Let's do it.